Today is Veterans Day. In our country, we honor all those who have served in the military for their dedication and service to our country. Well, the church honors a former soldier of the Roman Empire, but someone who actually considered himself a soldier of Christ, St. Martin. St. Martin is the patron saint of soldiers as well as horses. And he was born right around the time when Christianity became legal, just a few years after the Roman Emperor made Christianity legal. And so up until that point, Christians were persecuted because Christianity was illegal. And so he was exposed when he was a child to Christian church, but his parents were still pagan and did not want him to become a Christian. But nonetheless, he secretly was learning on his own, and he became a catechumen, someone who, kind of like in today our RCIA process, someone who wants to become baptized and Catholic. But he was never baptized, and then he was forced at the age of 15 to enter into the Roman army because his father was a veteran, and that was kind of the policy back then. The sons of soldiers just kind of continued the line. And he kind of wanted to be a monk, though, and so he was, while a soldier in the Roman army, he was kind of different. Eventually he became an officer, and so he had a servant who was supposed to clean his shoes, but out of his kind of compassion for his servant, he would clean his servant's shoes. And there was just different little things about that where he would try to act in charity, even though he himself wasn't baptized yet, and so he wasn't fully formed in the Christian life. And so one day, on a very cold, bitter day, wind biting, he's riding his horse, and he sees a beggar on the side of the road. And having nothing else to give him, he cuts his military cloak in half with his sword and gives it to this beggar on the side of the road, who joyfully goes away. And later that night, he has a dream where he sees Jesus talking to the angels, saying, "Look, this is the cloak that Martin, yet a catechumen, gave me." And those words struck him in that kind of vision or dream that Jesus called Martin, "yet a catechumen." So he realized he needs to get baptized. So he went off and found a priest and got baptized as soon as he could. And by the time I think he was 23, he decided he really couldn't serve anymore as a soldier. And so he was trying to leave the army, and I think partly because he didn't believe in the Roman Empire's cause at the time. And so he didn't feel like he could serve as a soldier for them anymore. And he tried to leave, and the Roman army, his commanders, just thought he was being a coward. And he's like, I've been serving all these years. How can I suddenly become a coward? But they didn't believe him still. So he said, on the next battle, put me in the front line. I won't have my sword, I won't have my shield or my armor. And so they agreed to that. And so Martin starts praying that, he'll still be okay. And then word comes that the opposing army didn't want to fight anymore. They made agreements without having a battle. And so God protected him that way. God protected him without even having to go into battle, without his sword. So eventually he did leave, and he, with that kind of difficulty, and he became a monk. He founded the first monasteries in France, or Gaul at the time. And eventually the people around that area wanted him to become the bishop, and he reluctantly accepted. He was first hiding in a goose shed at one point, trying to escape from the people, but reluctantly he became their bishop, and he became a very great bishop. A lot of miracles associated with him, and he fought against the Arians, the heresy at the time where they denied the divinity of Christ, and he did a lot to help the new Christians at that time fight off the pagan ways of that culture, of that time. And so he had a lot of difficulties with that, fighting those heresies and the pagan culture. He had a lot of difficult decisions to make as bishop. And that's something we can kind of keep in mind. He had a difficult decision as a soldier of the Roman army, and a lot of difficult decisions as bishop, that, the saints that came before us, they lived very real life just like we do, where not everything's black and white, not everything's very obvious. They had to discern what to do. They had to kind of, with a well-formed conscience, kind of decide what to do, what is right. And so we can kind of look to these saints as a model of trusting in God, but also trusting in that He will give us the wisdom to do what is right. And that's what we hear in the first reading, that wisdom would give those who have it the ability to live according to the ways of God. The wisdom produces friends of God, and wisdom is more glorious than any kind of light. And all the kind of glory that Martin could have had in the Roman Empire, he gave up for a greater glory, serving God.